WarsawJS.
Well, welcome everybody to WarsawJS Meetup number 91. Oh, because you can hear me without it. Welcome everybody. Thank you. Now you hear me. To WarsawJS Meetup number 91. That's a very special number because it's almost the same as my age. No, what it really means is that before long, we're going to be having the 100th WarsawJS Meetup. I can't even imagine. It's going to be a fantastic occasion. However, no more fantastic than today. Today, we have some really, really special things to offer you and information and presenters. I am, you know this guy, Barry Salone, your master of ceremonies. Give him a hand, everybody. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you so much. I really enjoy being with you guys because you're really a fun-loving group, even though you all look so serious. And I'm telling you, you really do look very serious. I've learned differently. You're really a lot of fun, and it's fun to be here and learn things with you. We're here thanks to our team, who are very, very talented, and they include, of course, Piotr Sławiński, who's in the room, Maciej Machniewski, who's not in the room. Hey, Maciej. Gabriela Chucha, and also our tech team. Pavel was not here today, but we have a substitute for Pavel today. Say hello to my friend over here, tech assistant, and Louisa Haas. And Louisa Haas, who I adore. And also our volunteers, some of whom are in the room with us. What? It's you, honey. That's right. We have Anna Lukianova sitting right here near the front. And Konrad Jakoński, who I spoke with today, but I don't think he's here. Cześć, Konrad, wherever you are, and thank you very much. What is WarsawJS? WarsawJS exists to support both professional and novice software developers within the IT community, and we intend to accelerate the process of education by sharing our knowledge and experience. I just have to ask this question one more time. Is there anyone in the room who doesn't understand Chinese? Okay, good, because all of our presentations today will be in English, so that shouldn't be a problem. Fantastic, and we're really glad to always share information with you. Our mission statement, and also we follow this Berlin Code of Conduct, which means that we treat each other with respect. We do not tolerate derogatory terms or any kind of abuse toward one another. We're very kind and considerate in our language and in our behavior. So we're looking to hold everyone to that standard so everyone feels welcome and everyone is respected. We're close to 6,000 members with WarsawJS. Let's have a hand for that. I think that's a lot. Not bad, not bad. 6,000 members is a lot, especially if everyone is sharing their information. And information sharing, that goes a long way, right? Yes, it does. And of course, here's our logo. Our address is warsawjs.com. If you're looking for information, you can visit us there. And our sponsors today for this 91st event are CK Source, CallStack, Daft Code, Fresha, Pack Help, PostClick, Prisma, Sumo Logic, TDO, and Xfang. Yes, give them a hand. Give all the sponsors a hand. Without the sponsors, this would not be possible. I mean, it's nice to get together, and it's also nice to have maybe, you know, a cup of coffee or a bottle of beer or a slice of pizza. And without them, it would be impossible to bring all of this fantastic help and information together. So we're really grateful to the sponsors. There will be a contest today. Okay, what you can win, Who's here for the first time? Is anyone here for the first time? Oh, welcome. Welcome everybody. First timers. All right. You all look so experienced. I figured you've been here a million times before. I've been here a few times myself, and it's always great to see new people coming to the group. It makes us feel stronger, and it means the information is getting out there. The knowledge is spreading, and I really love that. So today, you're welcome to come and give at the end a 5-minute lightning talk. And for those who are so brave or so generous, we'd be willing to give you a prize for that. This is a contest. You can win a 100% discount for a JetBrains license if you give that lightning talk. So think it over while everyone's speaking. Think about whether you have anything that you want to present to the group. It's 5 minutes or less. It could even be, let's say, between 3 and 4 minutes. If you're willing to get up in front of this easy audience and make a presentation, we certainly welcome you to do so. And a JetBrains license 100% discount sounds like a great prize to me. All right, so today our speakers will be, all of these speakers have been, from what I understand, involved with this group, with WarsawJS for a very long period of time. These are people who are partners, they are cooperators, they are collaborators, they are a part of our team, they're a part of our family, and so we're looking forward to hearing from them. And of course, there are Magdalena Ostoja-Chyżyńska. Sometimes I think they make up these names just to see if I can pronounce them, right? Chyżyńska. And now we have Piotr Szlachciak. Did I do it? Was it okay? Szlachciak is good? You see. So an old dog can learn new tricks. And finally, we have Piotr Sławiński. Where is Piotr Sławiński? Oh, this one. Okay, Piotr. I didn't know Sławiński was I forgot that was your last name. Nice to see you here, and so glad that you're all here. It's a really nice turnout tonight. I wasn't expecting. I didn't know what to expect. I've never had this meeting in this room before. This is my first time with WarsawJS actually at HubHub. Is that true? So thanks to HubHub also for making this space possible. Give them a hand. Yeah. And let's begin. The first person I'd like to, before we do that, we also have to announce our upcoming workshops, which will be taking place on the 24th of this month from 10 o'clock to 15. That's 3 hours. And this is for, the name is JavaScript na każdym poziomie. I guess that means on every level, like for everybody, like every size, shape, color, smell, taste, and flavor. So those workshops, this is workshops number 62, will take place on the 24th from 10 to 15. Oh, I thought you wanted it now. Okay, that was another announcement that I thought I wanted to make, so we can make that announcement later. Very well. So we'll talk about that later. Workshops are coming up, and you will be able to get your tickets. Let's begin. I'd like to first invite to the stage our first presenter, and that's going to be Magdalena Ostoja-Chyżyńska with her talk on developer-designer communication. Come on with it, Magda.
Gdzie powinnam stać? Gdzie kamera? A tam nie mogę? If I'm go out of bounds, just tell me. Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Magdalena Ostoja-Chyżyńska. Oh, that's so many people now. It was less in like 10 minutes ago. Okay, so basically today I wanted to talk about developer-designer communication. And maybe at the beginning, I can give you a couple of words about me. So basically, I work as a chief designer at UX Girl Design Studio. I am a post front-end developer. So basically, I have about 8 years. I did about 10 years in design, but beforehand, I did a bit of front-end development too. I am a hidden Java lover, so some people hate me here. Basically, I'm a computer science graduate, so we can talk normally with me. And I am I'm a UX UI designer, as you know. I am leading design teams, and basically that's a couple of words about me. And maybe also about UX Girl. So what we actually do is that we design user experiences and user interfaces. We also do user research. We do, for example, IDIs. We talk with users. We think about how to design the interface. And what we specialize in is complex interfaces. And basically, you can say that a complex interface is an interface that has a lot of controls, like components. But but maybe not really. So a complex interface is usually the interface that has a complex workflow like behind it. So basically, that is what is a complex interface for me. And we also do some design workshops, which is, I think, quite common now to do even online. Okay, so basically, like, why me? Why I'm doing this presentation on developer designer communication, why I am talking about it and not somebody else. So I have about 10, maybe more years of experience in design. And as I said, that's not incorporating the front-end design development work that I also done. And I have worked with about, I think, 75 plus developers. It's really hard to tell exactly how many developers I worked with, but this is something that I assume is like the number that could be right. I'm not sure. And surprise that may come for you is that I actually enjoyed working with all the developers that I worked with. Yeah, this presentation is kind of direct now. So basically, what will we talk about today? And maybe I should inverse this question and say that what is working? Sorry. What will we not talk about today? So if you're a developer or maybe you're a designer, I don't know, there might be many people on here. So if you're either of that, you probably when you're reading about articles about the communication between developers and designers, you will see that there's many information about what are differences between these two, like how they cannot communicate, how there are problems with communication. So I don't really want to talk about these differences that there are between developers and designers. I want to talk about how to make it work, how to actually communicate, and let's leave the differences behind us, because I think that's easier then. And I would like to start with the setups. So if you are working with, if you're a developer, how many developers are there? Everybody? Probably. And designers? Okay, we have designers. And the other people, there are people that are not developers and not designers? Something like that? Oh, okay. Great. So basically, you have some setups in which you can work when you're a developer or designer or another person, probably also working in IT. And as to say, I have worked in different setups, and also I think sorry. And also I think that when you are working on one project and on another project, there could be different setup here and there. Like you can be in one today, but you can be in a different one tomorrow. And the first setup that I think could occur is I would say triangular perfect kind of healthy setup, in which you have the developers working directly with product owners or project managers, however you name it in your project, and also with the designers. And the same, designers can work with product owners, designers can work with developers, and we have this flow of communication that is going through all of the people involved. But there could be a less ideal situation, and you can have something like this. And this situation is quite popular, I would say, in banking projects where you have like big documentation, and you have very complex processes and something that you actually, you have to document. And then we can have like a product owner, we can have that communicates with a designer. We have, of course, developers that communicate with the analysts, and basically the designer kind of provides some designs that are accepted by the PO in terms of business side, but then also kind of written up by the analysts, and the analysts kind of push the information back to the developers. So yeah, in this one, you can also be, you cannot be, but oops. I'm trying, sorry guys, okay. Another one that you can be in is like you have developers that communicate with the product owner, and the product owner then communicates with the designer. I name it that this is kind of like a bridge setup. Like it's not really healthy. Sometimes it can work, but yeah, it's a bit different. And last one, which is quite radical, I would say, is that when you have some developers and these developers have a manager, and just the manager kind of communicates with some business person, and this business person communicates with the designer. And of course, like the communication goes the other way around too. And in this one, you can see that probably not much communication between developers and designers. Why? I don't know. So the question I think we should be asking us like today is what to do to create a great product together, because we are talking about communication, but basically why are we talking about the communication between designers and developers? We are talking about that so that we actually know how to create a great product. And I think that everybody wants to create a great product. So I've divided my presentation in dimensions that there are between like designers and developers in terms of their communication. And something that is like a bit funny for me is that I actually named this, as you see, developer designer communication. And probably someone of you should know that I am actually like a UI UX designer. And like when you find like UI UX design, you also have like ergonomics, and you have other terms, and you have like an umbrella term for all of that, and that's basically human computer interaction. You probably know that. Anybody knows about human computer interaction? That's not a lot. You should know that. Anyway, so basically there was once a very wise professor, and he said that because this was not named human computer interaction before, but it was actually named human computer communication, just like the title of our talk. So there was a wise professor that said that it cannot be named human computer communication because a human and a computer, like they are not really on the same level of progression. So like I don't get that and I don't understand that, but that's basically what he said. And that's why in the end, the subject is basically named interaction. But as you see, I still think that developers and designers are on the same level of progress, and hence the communication and not interaction. So now I have a question. Do you know why Firefox? Like what's like the animal in the logo of the Firefox? What was that? Oh God. Did I do that? No. Oh, okay, don't spoil it. Okay, so basically, like you look at the picture, you look at the animal, and you think, yeah, like it's a fox, right? It's Firefox, so it's a fox. Well, so basically, like I thought the same, but then I actually researched it a bit, and I found out that it's actually not a fox. It's a red panda. And I don't know if you knew that. Did anybody know that? I know that here. Did you knew that? Did you know that? Just one person. Okay, so like as you can see, this is this little guys that are kind of funny, because when they kind of get scared, they like put both of their arms up, and this just looks funny and not really scary, but they don't know that. Let's keep it this way. So anyway, I don't know if you feel that, but if you actually like take a look at this icon, you can see that it actually looks like a fox. So like here, there's this white thing, and the thing at top is actually red. It kind of looks like a fox anyway, right? It does. I think it does look like a firefox, like a fox anyway. So basically, this was supposed to be a red panda, and I think like in between some communication, like this was basically lost. So the graphic designer did get some brief, I don't know, but it wasn't really a good brief. And this is what basically happens. So we don't want this to happen to our project, I think. So that's why we'll be talking about the dimensions for the communication today. And the first one, which I think is quite important, is a connection, is to have a connection. It's actually to connect when you're a developer, to connect with your designer. And also if you're a designer, to connect with your developer or developers. Is there anybody that like doesn't like is a developer and doesn't really have a connection with your designer here, like a direct connection? Not really. That's actually great, guys, because sometimes it happens that there is not non such connection, and like basically then you will have to fix it. So you'll have to talk, for example, to the manager, like, yeah, maybe we should have this like meetings or something. And if you happen to be in such a position, it's actually quite easy to fix it, because you just go to the manager, tell a couple of things, and usually you're just the first person to ask that, so they will accept it. But if not, then you'll have to fight for it. But usually it's like that no one really asked about that. I can see that from all your cases, because you actually have it. And yeah, so here I just posted a couple of like sentences that you shouldn't really hear. So like you don't need to speak to the developers, you can speak to me, you can hear that from the managers, and then you actually know that it's a red flag. And also you should focus on your code and not talk. So this is also a red flag. I hope you didn't hear that like ever. So basically having a connection, having an access to your designer, to your developer, it's very important. And that's good that you all have that. And the second dimension that I think is quite important are the meetings. And now like the meetings like is a meeting, so it's like synchronous communication, right? So I'm not talking about Slack, I'm not talking about like writing to each other emails and stuff like that. This is also cool and also very important, but meetings, this is a whole different level of communication. So you should have meetings. And so I found out like recently when there was, the whole COVID thing and stuff, that meetings on site and meetings online like they don't really differ that much. So basically if you talk online, it's kind of the same level of productivity, sometimes even higher than when you talk face to face. And of course it's great like to see each other, like to turn on the camera, but like I also found that it's not really that important. So if your developer like I don't know, is a timid person, or like the designer is a timid person, doesn't want to turn on the camera, it's fine. Like it will not really affect that much of the productivity that you can have on the meetings. But of course, if you're doing a business meeting and you don't turn on the camera, that's bad. But we're not talking about that, right? So I guess that's okay. And also the second thing about the meetings is that the meetings should be visual. So when I was doing this research for this presentation, apart from the experience that I like gathered, I also talked with a couple of developers, just like like in interviews, like in-depth interviews, and I asked them, what is the most important thing when you are on a meeting with a designer? And basically what they said is that it should be visual. So like the designer should actually show something, because when the designer is just talking and like not showing anything, I don't really like know what to comment. I cannot really feedback it. And it's really hard sometimes to imagine things. It might be easy for the designer. It might not be easy for the developer. So that's why the designers like should always like show something. If the designer is not showing something, maybe tell your designer, for example, let's just turn on like a whiteboard and just sketch some things. Like that might be a cool idea, and then it will add to your like visuality of the meeting, and you can get to agreement faster, basically. So this is kind of a very important thing. And the third important thing about the meetings is that that may be more of a tip for the designer and not really for you as developers, is that when a designer is showing something, when a designer is showing an interface that she designed, like it's really hard to take it in without some, for example, story, without some arguments about why this is better, why the other thing is worse. And like, if you're a designer, just tell these stories. So like, I designed it this way because this and that. So like, the developer is not really just like a mechanical person that only listens to what should be done. Like everybody has empathy, and it's much easier to talk about something when all of the people know the same story behind it. So if you're a developer and the designer is just showing you things, you can just ask. It's not that the designer like is hiding something and doesn't want to tell you that. Probably they just didn't think about that it's important for you to know these things. And yeah, nothing else here. So the third dimension that I think is also quite important is respect and trust. And you might laugh on like at the title of this screen. So yeah, you can laugh at that, of course. But this is really simple, and this is, I think, really powerful. So you have to remember that there is like a space that your designer does, and there is a space that you as a developer you do. And like sometimes I can feel that some people, like some designers, want to tell the developers how to do their job, and the developers want to tell the designers how to do their job. So like, maybe don't do that. If you really think that something is wrong, just give some small suggestions. But I think that we should all respect each other. If this person is in this role, it's probably like there is a good reason that this person is in this role. So I would say that, just trust this person that she will do a good job. And also, if you really feel that you have to take this person's job, just ask if you can do that. If you can recommend something, if you can do this part, if you can like, because like you might think like, how is that possible? So I will tell you like one example. For example, interactions. You can of course have a designer that designs you the interaction from start to the end, but sometimes it's just basically sending a link like, can you do an interaction that is similar to this one, right? And then basically the developer does the animation part, for example. So so it could be like that, and sometimes the other person kind of does part of the other person's job. So that's normal. It happens, but just keep everything like settled here. And the next thing that is quite important is openness. And you probably know or heard on some like workshops what actually means how to talk in an open way. So basically, talking in an open way is talking so that not everything is like set in stone. So you present something and you basically say, so I think this is like the best possible solution, but if you have some other thoughts about that, you can tell me, basically stuff like that. So it not talking right, this should be like that, and like we cannot really change that. Just talk like in an open way, maybe something could change. And this could basically mean that your partner, this developer, this designer can have like better ideas. For example, knows about some technical constraints or some business constraints that are quite important, and like something should be done in a different way. So you don't know that, and you should share all this information that you have and probably decide on a different outcome. Yeah, and also quite an important thing is that you should share your thoughts and apprehensions and never leave anything like open. So if you feel you have some questions unanswered and you're on a meeting and you didn't answer this question, yeah, you should have done that. So asking questions is important, and getting all the answers that you need is also important. And also, a very important dimension is knowledge sharing, but I think you probably know that since developers share the knowledge all the time. So maybe this is more for the designers part. So it is quite like cool to talk about, like, lend knowledge and consult each other during the project. And it's not really like, of course you work on some things, so you have to consult. Yeah, of course. But like sometimes I can give you for an example that you have just started working on something and you're like a Flutter developer, right? And you're doing some Android project. And basically you have a designer that did a lot of iOS's project recently, and like they are not really that knowledgeable and on the newest good practices for Android. So like, this is the time that of course the designer can learn a bit like themselves, but since there is a developer just in the same project, she should just ask questions about that and also try to share this knowledge, because it might be much faster to just ask the question than Google it for hours to come and stuff like that. So yeah, try to share this this knowledge throughout the project. And a very important thing that I just said before is that, of course, sharing knowledge builds trust between all of you. And so that's just a greater bonus for you here. And of course, like there is like the last dimension, which would be the handoff. So there comes a time, and this could be several times in a project. This could be, if you're in a more waterfall project, it will be probably at the end of the project, when there has to be this moment of getting the designs to the developer and just using it. And I think that there are like a couple of things that you should remember when accepting the designs or creating the designs. And first one would be that the design should be easy to use. And what does this exactly mean? So of course, when you're a designer, you can just send, I don't know, in the past it was like Photoshop files, right? Then it was more like, I don't know, PDF files, PNG files, of course. But right now we have very good tools for that. We have Zeppelin, we have all the others like Figma, and all the other tools where the developers can do, for example, the front-end developers can do really a small work with that, and in terms of pixels, for example. And also it is just better when you have comments and all the stuff like that. So if the design is not easy to use, like how the developers will use it, like it will be really hard. And I also found that I think I was using one of the developers that actually said that was the one that I was working with, and we were using I think InVision. And I realized just at the end of the project that when you actually give very small permissions to these people, like in InVision, they kind of see the project in a whole different way. I haven't really tested that before, and when they actually showed me, I was like, yeah, that is super hard to navigate. So I shouldn't really use this tool for that. So maybe if you're a designer, check how your developer will be looking at your design before, because it might just be a different view, like they don't have your permissions. That's just different. And the second thing that you should remember is that design should be clear and consistent. So from the point of a designer, of course, you have to create the components that are consistent, like the whole process should be consistent. But from the developer point of view, if you see that something is not consistent, just tell the designer, like they will fix it probably, I think. And the design should be without ambiguous meanings. So if there is like a screen and you feel that some screen is missing after that because you don't know what will happen, that's probably it. The screen is missing. And it's not that you don't know what to actually code. And the last thing is that the design should be complete. This means that when you look at the design, there are no questions unanswered. And my great tip for that is that when you are doing, when you are creating some screens and you feel that they need a little bit more documentation, just give a small comments near the screens for your developers basically to read after that. So, and of course, this tip is for like the artboard of the whole screens and not really like previewing it in some interaction mode, because then it's really hard to do some comments. But I'm meaning just like on an artboard, create some comments and leave it for the developer to read. And I think after all, like they will not be contacting you, sorry, that often. But I also think that it's always better to have all the information near the mockups and near the designs, and not really in some document or in some email. So this will help you for the design to be complete. And I also created some best practices for developer designer communication that I was talking about them like through the whole presentation now. And it's this thing. So if you want to like screenshot it or something, then it's the time. But basically, I think I actually shared all of them with you already. So just 2 seconds for that. Okay. And what we have to remember is that even though UX is like in my like job position, so it's a UX UI designer, I feel that everybody that is in the project is actually contributing to great UX. So like if you're a developer, you're basically also doing a UX. And great products can only be created, of course, when everybody is collaborating and everybody is thinking about the user experience. And as I said, I feel like everybody wants to create great products. And I also think that you also want to create a great product, right? And this screen I actually found in some wiki of a project when I was working in a big corporation. I will not tell the name, but it was quite funny for me. And I feel like everybody was working like their own ways. But then I saw this picture and then I said, yeah, so basically everybody is working towards common goal. And I think this is something that should always kind of make a team of us, right? At the end of the project, at also the beginning of the project. Thanks.
Wow. Bravo. Great job. I'm back with you again. Oh, I got one of those. Stay, don't go anywhere. Fantastic presentation. And you know, I'm sitting a little bit on the outside because I'm not a developer and I'm not a designer. What I've seen though is that these days, because of all this remote working and this asynchronous communication, these very simple rules of communication can be very powerful tools for you. And it's sometimes hard to feel like a team when everyone is so isolated. So these are some really, really good tips. Does anyone have any questions for Magda? We always give you 5 minutes for questions and answers. And as Magda said, this is a good time to ask the questions. If you have them, don't sit there with them inside your head. Just come on out with them and maybe you can get some answers. Anybody, I'll bring you the microphone.
You can also ask after.
You can also ask after. Of course, we'll be around for a while. So if you're going to be around and willing to answer questions later, that would be fine. Nobody has any questions for Magda right now? Okay, so thank you very, very much. That was a really, really nice presentation. We appreciate it so much. Give her a hand once more, please, everybody. Thank you, thank you. Communication, that's what I'm all about. That's really the name of the game. Let's see, I lost my slides, so I don't know who's going to be our next presentation. I have your slides here. Okay, let me see, who's going to be the second? I think I might need to invite this one second. Okay, I've lost my slides, so I need to get the idea, the name, and the theme in my head. Before that happens, I want to remind everyone that after, right, and what's the name of the talk? And right after this, this third talk, we're going to be enjoying some networking outside. We're going to bring you some beer and some pizza so everyone can casually get to know each other and ask maybe some of the questions you didn't get a chance to ask before. Oh, thank you. Gosh, without these tools are so important. They really are. All right, so Magdalena Ostoja-Chyżyńska. I'm just practicing the pronunciation because Is it okay? Was it good? Oh, thank you so much. Great information. I love communication. Anyone can tell you. Next up, we have Piotr Szlachciak. Szlachciak. Szlachciak is Oh, Szlachciak. Okay, I can see that now. It's an eyesight thing, really. Piotr Szlachciak. Of course, it's Szlachciak. And his talk will be on how to consume APIs so that they taste best. Welcome, Piotr. You can actually take that one.
Okay, hello everyone, and I'm just gonna wait for my slides. In the meantime, there are some free places here. So if someone sits in the back and thinks that, you know, the text is too small and who designs slides this way, then, you know, my bad, because I thought the screen's gonna be bigger, but also there are some free places here. Does this work? Okay. It's a 50-50 chance. So I'm going to look at the slides after I change them. Hello, everyone. My name is Piotr Szlachciak, and I'm here today to talk to you about APIs and how to consume them so that they taste best. And if my voice sounds a little bit weird, it's because I have been sick for the past few days. Now I'm fine, but my voice is not. Anyway, I've decided to give you the big takeaway of the entire presentation at the very start. So here's the first slide, and I'm going to tell you what it's there because you probably can't see. The first line says get the user input, then create the URL, then fetch the URL, get the data, get the price from the data, and set the price. Can anybody tell me what's wrong with the code? Thank you so much. But actually, the biggest takeaway from the entire presentation is that there is something wrong with this code, okay? In my opinion, this code mixes abstractions, mixes interacting in the UI with fetching the data. And the biggest takeaway is that we should always abstract fetching the data so that from the other parts of the code, it's the easiest that it can be. So just a function call, right? This code is even more perfect than the previous one because we just get the ID, we fetch it, and then we display it. Nothing more, nothing less. And the rest of the talk is just going to be more of my opinions on how to best abstract it. Opinion number one, instead of just abstracting the entire code into a function, you should actually wrap it in a class. And you might think JavaScript and classes, what are you even thinking? This isn't like, you know, 1995 where we have to write Java. It's you know, 2022 current year argument. We don't have to write classes. We have beautiful functions. Why classes? Because those guys that actually wrote Java in 1995 figured something out that with classes, testing is nicer. So the only reason I'm using classes here is because I want my code to be easily testable. And so once I have this class and I implement the method, okay, so this is really simple. The blue code here is the exact same code that I had on slide 1, just wrapped into a class. So, you know, more code, but it's going to be more fun because now I can do this. I can say that instead of calling fetch from the global object, I have a constructor that takes fetch. And then I use the fetch from the class's properties. Okay, so if you've never seen code like this before, then my personal opinion is that you should start writing code like this because, and this is the best part, if you want to use this code in the application section of your code, in the source code, then you just provide the normal fetch. In tests, however, I hope this is the test, right? In tests, however, instead of creating the class with a normal fetch function, you create a fetch function of your own. And what do you say there? Well, I expect that the URL is going to be something that I actually know. And then you can return whatever data that you actually want. If you cannot see, the code is really simple. It just says fetch is this function that checks the URL and returns this data. And then later, we create the class with this fake fetch function. We call the class's function, and then we expect the output to be correct. But this simple test actually gives us all the tools we need to then later test more complex interactions. Because here it's actually a pretty simple example. We just have a service that returns some data about a cryptocurrency, in this case, Bitcoin. And it returns not only the price, but we're only interested about the price. So we check that the URL is correct, and then we check that given this data structure, we just take away the price. So this is simple, but you could imagine that actually the output might be in a complex format, or the parameters that we are passing need to be specific, like we need to pass a specific token or something. And the test is a great place to actually check that the logic that we have is correct. So instead of just writing all of this logic in one place or having it in a function, which can be hard to test, we put it into a class, we call it just like the function, but with a dot, and we have all the functionality tested. Next thing, you're writing JavaScript, but you shouldn't. You should write TypeScript. So, and this is, of course, another opinion, but my opinions are the best because they're mine. And I think TypeScript is better than JavaScript because it provides you with more safety and more productivity. So everything that you want and everything that you need. With more productivity, because then you can just say that I know what is the type of the variable, and then you know the entire data structure that your API returns. And then more safety, because you're not going to access any properties that aren't there. But actually, there's a problem. Because, if you're just writing code like this, and for those of you in the back that don't see, we have an interface. We call response JSON on the fetch response, which just parses it as JSON, and then we cast it. We say, this thing is actually with this type, with the type of this interface. The problem is that there is no safety there. We just assert something baselessly. Like, like me saying that, I don't know, the price of Bitcoin is 40,000. I don't know, I haven't checked. It might be, it might not be. There is no assert. It's just baseless claims. So what we actually can do is verify the data in runtime. So I can recommend this nice library called Zod, but there are others, and you can use any of them. Basically, the idea of the library is to take the types part of TypeScript and make it also work in runtime. So if you have some data and you want to assert the type of the data, right? You can specify a schema. It looks very much like the interface from before. Instead of just saying interface, we say Z object. But syntax is never really something important. So you just say Z object, and then Z object, Z object, Z number. And then if you want to get the TypeScript type, we do Z in first. So basically, if you want to do anything, you just do Z dot, and then you find what you need. And with this small piece of code, we have declared the same interface as from before, but now we can actually use it in runtime. So in the code that we had, after we parse the data from JSON to a JavaScript object, we call the coinsResponse.parse, which does two things. First off, it does the TypeScript magic, which is asserts that the type is correct. But second of all, it does the JavaScript magic in runtime, which is goes through all of the data and checks that the types actually match. In this way, you get the safety and the productivity, and you don't have to worry because there is the same exact amount of code, but now it's even safer. So great. So now summing up, we have an abstraction. We can test it. It's super safe. Or is it? Or is it we have forgotten about something? We have forgotten. Oh, no, actually, you know what? I can't even remember my own slides. Instead of doing the next thing, which is error handling, I'm still going to ramble about types. When it comes to types in TypeScript, you have all of the basic ones, like, an interface which is an object with some properties. You could have a string, a number, all of those. But when it comes to your application, you don't actually think about types in this way, right? Instead of strings, numbers, or objects, you have users or user IDs or some emails, right? And it would be great if you could enforce some of the constraints on those types also in your application. So instead of saying that the email that you're passing to the function is a string, you could say that the email is actually an email. Just like you say that the user is an object of type user, you could say that the email is a string of type email. So TypeScript by default kind of does not support this idea. It's called nominal typing. And there is a nice hack, which I'm going to show you. The hack is this. You create an interface, you extend a string, and you add some random property, okay? So the property name and the property value don't really make a difference. For consistency, I'm naming the interface, when the interface is named CoinID, I'm naming it CoinID brand, because branded types is another name for this thing. Once I have this interface, right, I create a function also named CoinID. So the interface is named CoinID, the function is named CoinID. And the function kind of works like a constructor for the type, but it also enforces runtime constraints. So here you have the CoinID, and it has a regular expression, which checks that it's actually a valid CoinID. If it's not, it throws an error, right? And then you can create an instance, but it's still going to be a string, right? It's only in terms of what TypeScript thinks. You can create an instance of this CoinID by just calling a function with a string. And then you get a value, which is of type CoinID. And the best thing is, even though at runtime it's a string, in TypeScript, you cannot assign a CoinID to a string, and you cannot assign a string to a CoinID. So once you have a value that's a CoinID, or it could be an email or whatever in your system, right? You get a type safety for this value. So we can add another layer of safety, another layer of types. So in the getPrice function in our class, instead of accepting a CoinID, which is a string, we accept a CoinID, which is, of course, a CoinID. And now, hopefully, to the part that I wanted to talk about, which is error handling, right? Because what's the point of adding all of this safety if we're just going to say, OK, the API returned 400, I don't care. I don't care. I'm just going to parse it anyway. No. No, we need to check that our API returned a correct status, right? If it's not 200, we want to say no. So the API returns something else than 200, we throw an error. And OK, what happens if we parse and it's not what we want? Well, we should also throw an error. So we check the result of the parsing, we throw an error, we check the response, we throw an error. And one thing that I would like to for you to remember about error handling is that once you have a class, once you have your own function, once you have your own thing, you can also add your own class for the error. And it's you're probably thinking, oh my God, this guy just won't shut up about classes. Yeah, I don't like them too, but they're useful. They're useful. If you create your own error class, what you can do later is once you catch an error, right, you can check if it's an instance of that error. And then you can handle those code paths separately instead of trying to match by the error strings. So it's actually useful. So we had type safety, we had an extracted class, we have custom errors. What do we have next? A puzzle for you guys. the code here says const coins is an array of Bitcoin, Ethereum, and 200 more coins, right? A huge array of coins. And then the variable prices is set to promise all of coins mapped to the request to the class to get the price, right? So we do all of the requests, we do promise all, we get the prices. What's wrong with the code? All settled? No, I mean, yes, you could, but it's not what's wrong with the code. I mean, that's an improvement, but it still would fail in the same way. Okay, my next slide. This is not the next slide. Come on, this is the next slide. If you're gonna do a lot of requests and you're using an API that's, let's say, properly implemented, you're gonna get an error. Why? Because they rate limited you, right? You haven't paid them enough. You haven't paid them enough, so you need to stop calling them so often. And you're the poor developer, you're just wanting to call a function and it returns an error. Why? Because someone else, somewhere else in the code called the function 200 million times, and now the API returns an error. You cannot do anything. But maybe, because you now have a class and you now have an abstraction, maybe you can solve it somehow. How to solve it? And so I'm just going to tell you the solution. I'm not going to walk through the code. If the code was bigger, this would make sense if you could see the code, but the solution is to add another class. Fetch the data and get it back, which would result in the previous example of making 200. Did the mic turn off in like the middle? And I'm so sorry. I pressed the button.
Yeah, to mute.
You know. Now you can hear me even better. The solution is a rate limiter class. And the rate limiter class has one thing to do: queue the requests. Instead of just calling all of the API, instead of making all of the API calls at once, you queue them, you wait for a period of time that's acceptable for the API, and then once the period of time elapsed, you take the first item from the queue and make the request. So from the point of view of the API caller, you just have the same one line of code: CoinGecko service get price. You don't worry about it. But inside of the class, right, you have this. Wait, is this? Yeah, here. You create an instance of the rate limiter. And before you make a fetch call, you just call the rate limiter first. And because of this, you will not run into rate limiting from the API. Now, rate limiter inside the class also works wonders. And this is also why you should have a class instead of a function if you have multiple different requests to the same API. Because they're going to rate limit you on all of those requests. And you want to reuse the rate limiter instance for all of those requests. So if you, from the same service, you want to fetch the price, but you also want to fetch, I don't know, the newest exchange data or some market participants or whatever, those are different APIs. They come from the same service. So you want to reuse the rate limiter for all of those requests. And if you also have a class and you have multiple requests, you're surely going to find out very soon that the logic for making those requests for a particular service is actually very similar, right? For different services, it can be very different. You could have different cookies, different API tokens, different statuses that are returned. But for the same service between different endpoints, it's probably going to be very, very similar. So you should extract a method inside the class, and then all of the requests to the service are going to be very easy. And all of them are going to have the safety of the types. All of them are going to have the safety of not being subject to being rate limited. And you're good. And now, is this the last thing? It's almost the last thing. It's the second to last thing. Second to last thing is, did you know that you can actually abort a fetch request, right? So you're making a request, you find out that you no longer need it. For example, you might want to have a timeout, right? The default timeout for fetch requests is like infinity, right? You don't want your users to wait. You just want to display, no, something went wrong, sorry. To do that, you should abort the request. And in order to abort the request, you can use another class, but this one, it's built in. It's built in. It's an abort controller, and the abort controller has a beautiful method called abort that you can call. And then, in order to actually use it, you get the signal from the abort controller, you pass the signal to fetch as a parameter, and then you just call abort controller abort inside a timeout, for example. And you're good. You're good. You're not making a request anymore, and your users are happy. You are happy. Everybody's happy. Last thing, you've done all this. You have timeouts. You have rate limiting. You have great types. You have everything, right? You push the code to production, and it breaks. It will break, right? Because you're interacting with some random API service that you just found on the internet. It just won't work. But because you've built all of this infrastructure, you're now in the best position that you could be. Because with solid types, with solid tests, you could take what the API has just returned, build a test that does exactly that, because you can mock the fetch function. So you can exactly say, oh, the API actually returned the correct response, but we have 400, so I should actually treat it as an edge case. Check this in tests, have all of this figured out, and still, in the code that actually needs the price that we're all about, you just have one line, CoinGecko service, get price. Is this all? Thank you very much.
Wow. Just in time. Just in time. I was about to ring the gong over here. Do you know about the gong?
Oh.
Yeah, I was just getting ready to ring the gong. We have a gong over here in case your talk goes more than 30 minutes. You knew that, though.
Do I go to jail, though?
Yes. Yes. We have time for a couple of questions, though, if anyone has any questions for Mr. Szlachciak.
Yes.
Anyone have any questions? I'm coming.
Thanks for the talk. I have a question. How do you handle rate limiting with horizontal scalability?
Okay, can you expand a bit on this? With horizontal scalability, you mean that there are different...
I mean, if you have multiple servers running and your users, if we're talking about consumer application, if your users are connecting to multiple servers, they can't communicate through this single class. They have to have some kind of caching service or something.
Yes, so if I understand the problem correctly, because you're calling different servers and each of them has their own rate limit, you can run into different rate limits, right? Or
if multiple users are calling to, usually it's a load. Usually there is a load balancer that distributes the load between several servers, if we are talking about horizontal scalability, right? And your servers are usually not talking to each other in the real time. They can use a database, but writing in a regular database would be, would take a lot of time. So how do you handle rate limiting if you have 2, 3, 5, 20 servers?
But so I'm very sorry because I think I'm still not understanding the question. But the way I was talking about rate limiting is in a scenario where you are calling another server from a server or from a client, and this server is rate limiting you, right?
Right. So look, I'm just saying that just having a class that limits the rate of the calls wouldn't be enough if you have more than one server in your network. Means horizontal scalability is basically when you are creating multiple servers to handle the workload.
Yes, but so the rate limiting from the point of this class is only to avoid being rate limited by the final server that actually does the rate limiting.
And if you have two of these classes on two servers, they are doing their rate limit is twice more. So they will be doing twice more the number of requests to the same endpoint, and they'll hit the rate limit.
Oh, so no, okay. So I think I get it now, right?
Uh-huh.
You have one service that does the rate limiting, but you have multiple clients, and each of them think the rate limit is 100 per second, and each of them actually run into the rate limit, right? Okay, I think I get it. So the solution would just be to set a different rate limits for the clients, right? So because I know it's not a perfect solution, right? So, but in this example, I was thinking of a case where you're rate limited per instance, right? In your example, you would be rate limited there would be a global rate limit, right? And I was thinking of a rate limit per user. So this won't work for a global rate limit.
Next question, please.
One more question. Do you know Swagger CodeGen or Open API Spec CodeGen, and how does it compare? And second question, how would you implement? Do you have any experience with implementing token refreshing?
Okay, so actually, my experience with token refreshing is the same, or from the same project that I used, Swagger CodeGen. And when it comes to, I'm going to do CodeGen first. What I personally found is that even though it's actually a bit more work in terms of what the developer has to do, and then in order to maintain sync between all of the two versions, it's worthwhile to not have all of your API calling code auto-generated, because what you'll find in most projects is that the contracts are actually violated a lot because of different errors, because of different return types, because of actually returning different data in the contract. And if you're implementing an API client that's auto-generated and it doesn't match, then you would have to change the auto-generated code, which is bad, because then the generated code would overwrite your changes. So this is why I actually prefer to write a lot of the API calling code by hand. And with the token refreshing, when I did this project, we actually used RX for this, and I wouldn't recommend it because the code was a mess in the end. I think what I would do now is I would do a similar thing that I did with the rate limiter, which is I would just have a property of this class be another class that just passes the request through itself and checks whether or not the token needs to be refreshed before making the request. So just a simpler solution.
Thank you very much.
Thank
I think
you
it was
very much.
fantastic. If you have any more questions, of course, you're going to be around, right, for the pizza. So you can ask
yes.
more questions later. Let's have another hand, please, for Mr. Nice job, nice job, nice job. And finally, folks, in a moment, we're going to get a chance to stretch our legs, but I'd like to invite back to the stage one of our collaborators here, one of the OGs, and this is Piotr Sławiński, and his talk is about Videochat app. Videochat app, the easy way. So give him a big welcome, everybody, Piotr Sławiński. This one is better. This is a better mic. This is a better microphone. Yeah. Take that. Rada na razie.
WarsawJS.
Okay, so hi, my name is Piotr. I'm a full stack developer at BeSafe, and that is BeSafe with 2 E's. The one with a single E is a condom manufacturer. We work in car insurance. So, not so long ago, I started to use a lot of React at work, and my React skills have become a little bit rusty over the years. So I was unfamiliar with all the new stuff which came in React 16. So I had to learn or relearn a thing or two in order not to suck. Same goes for the TypeScript. So I decided to start a pet project. But instead of doing yet another to-do app, I went with something more interesting, the titular Videochat. So listen to this. They say that you can send audio and video between browsers without any servers handling the traffic. The technology is called WebRTC, and it's a browser API which does exactly that. So capturing and sending streams of data between browsers. There are some servers involved, but they are signaling servers to establish connections. There's ICE and STAN protocols, the whole shebang, you know. But that seemed a little bit too low-level-y for a casual such as myself. So enter Curento Media Server. And what is that? That's just another level on top of the WebRTC, which is supposed to make the job easier. So what it does, it covers the one-to-one, one-to-many, many-to-many teleconference features you all know and love from apps like Zoom or FaceTime. And it also applies on-the-fly codecs and introduces computer vision and augmented reality. That is still a lot to swallow, and I haven't even reached the front-end part. So fortunately, people at OpenVidoo have made a library tailored just for my needs. So what is OpenVidoo? Great. Now everyone knows that I'm reading from my notes. At least people gathered here thought I was the real deal and not some fake. Now everything is out in the open. Okay, so OpenVidoo adds yet another level of abstraction. So it should be super easy to work with. And in addition to all the goodies the Curento Media Server provides, it also brings platform support for iOS, Android, as well as browsers like Chrome, Firefox, Edge, and also front-end and back-end technology support, so React, Angular, Vue for the front-end, and Node and Java for the back-end. What it also does, it introduces predefined roles. So we know who's publisher, who's a subscriber, and we can moderate the teleconference thanks to the roles. Also, screen sharing, recording, and even filters. Okay, and in the graph to the right, you can see how the whole thing is designed from the architectural point of view. So we have OpenVideo browser on the front, it's a library, and also stuff in the back, which is OpenVideo server and Currento Media server. Okay, so where to start? Well, OpenVideo has a pretty basic tutorial app. I did just that. I cloned the tutorial. I started the app. I started the backend from a Docker image provided by the authors. And what you see here, yep, it's a basic building block which contains the video which contains the video container to display the video stream from the publisher. Okay, but as you can see, it's a class component written in JavaScript, and I wanted hooks and TypeScript. And pay attention, because this is the moment where I learned hooks and improved TypeScript. Bang. Okay, here you go. So refrain yourself from doing code review, because my perfectionist nature is very sensitive. We can talk about detrimental effects of perfectionism later. Okay, so what else is there to talk about? OpenVideo provides some solutions for the deployment. So unfortunately, the Docker image I already mentioned was working only on my local machine, so it wasn't even available for devices in my network. But it's very good for a quick proof of concept. So since I don't have the resources to deploy it on-prem, I went with the AWS path. What could go wrong? So the OpenVideo prepared a CloudFormation template, which deployed servers to AWS EC2. Sorry. And for those of you who do not know, CloudFormation is a thing that sets up a bunch of connected AWS services in one go. That's not me. Okay, nice. So my app works on my laptop, on my phone, everywhere. Good job, have a beer, enjoy the rest of your day. But then it hit me. Sweet baby Jesus, have I just left EC2 running unattended? So for those of you who do not know, having servers on EC2 can get pretty expensive pretty fast. In the end, it was the cost of the knowledge. So I know what you're thinking. Geez, just show us the app already. Okay, is it big enough? I don't know what about you guys, but I would scan this QR code and try it out what is behind it. Okay, so for the sake of the guys for the sake of the people on the internet, I will try to do my best and show that also in the browser over here. Is it legal? Okay, no one here. No objection, correct. What was the, yeah. Okay, so that's mobile first, so there is no desktop version. For those of you who did not, who couldn't scan the code fast enough, here you go. Jesus. And now, okay, that should be enough. Hide presenter notes. I've broken something. So could you please like split it in half, like, you know, east side and west side? No, it's not. Just make it visible. This one to the right and that one to the... No, that was deliberate, you know. You're not? No, no problems. Yep. This one. Great. Okay, so almost done. No. No, the last one was better. Okay, guys, I can see that you're having fun already, so that's good. So we have the login screen, and please do not change the session name over here because that's the only way of authentication for now and for the foreseeable future. So allow. I have no idea what that, oh yeah. Okie doke, which one is this? Okay, here. So what you can see here, and I don't need to see this anymore, is we can see the feed screen over here. We see the subscribers list on the bottom. We also see the controls to the top and chat messages to the bottom. So the features are also, I can choose the feed from the subscriber list. And yeah, that's all. I can write something. Okay, I can see you guys having fun, so I will leave it as is and go to the conclusions. So I like to call this a drop-in video chat. It does make it sound innovative and breakthrough, but is it though? I don't think so. What it does is it's a that's not flattering, sir. Maybe, yeah. What it does, it's a simple proof of concept that video chat and teleconference features can be easily implemented and quickly thanks to the libraries like OpenVideo. So this concludes my talk. Thank you very much.
Wow. Video chat. One of my favorite topics, Piotr, video chat, one of my favorite topics. I love a Zoom call. I love Zoom calls. I love Zoom. I love everything video conferencing. I love it. I can't get enough. Is anyone else can't get enough of video calling and chats? You love it too? Oh my gosh. If you're like me, you know how funny this is. Does anyone have any questions?
A Q&A
Mr.
session
Sławiński?
will be held exclusively in the app.
Oh, wow. And he's good at promotion too. Hold on one second.
1, 2, 3. Okay. At the beginning, you mentioned with WebRTC, you don't need a server at all. But then when it comes to the solution with OpenVideo and the other library with the name starting with K, on the image you showed us there is a backend side. So at the end, you need some backend for it, right?
Yes, that's why I mentioned about the no need for the traffic handling servers only on the WebRTC slide. I'm guessing that features provided by Kurento and OpenVideo are so demanding that they do require some infrastructure in the backend. Unfortunately, I did not have much time to go into this, and so I recommend you to look at for the documentation of Kurento and OpenVideo. They have quality documentation over there, and probably there's a chance that they had already explained their reasoning behind having the necessity to spin up additional server for Kurento and OpenVideo.
There's a chance, you say.
Yeah, like something between 99% and
There's a pretty good chance.
and 1.
That's a pretty good
that's a pretty good chance.
Okay,
That's a chance
Piotr.
I'm willing to take.
I have another question for you.
Yeah, did you measure how many users create performance bottleneck? I mean, how many users can stream the video simultaneously and still enjoy the call?
I did not test it, but I've read on the OpenVideo forum, which is quality forum, I recommend, that EC2 has tiers of memory and computational tiers with the CPUs, and there's like a some rule of thumb that the more subscribers you expect to have, the bigger the tier should be. And so initially that my tier was pretty huge, but I quickly downgraded it to the lowest possible, lowest available for me at the moment. And I reckoned it would be the cheapest. And have you experienced any lags? Because I think that's the most users I had in this app today.
Really? Lags.
That's a proof of concept, Barry. Give me a break.
No, I do a lot of video calling myself. I have like 5, 6, 7, 8 per day. So, I mean, this is very useful information. And I hope you all take advantage of this information that this man has offered. One more thing. We're going to end the question and answers right now. If you have more questions for Piotr, you can also approach him in the lobby. We're going to take a short break so you can stretch your legs and maybe have a little bit of refreshment out there and a little bit of chatting. And then we're going to come back here for a few lightning talks. Is that okay with everyone? Is that all right with everyone? All right, so thank you very much, Piotr. One more time, thank you. See you in a few minutes. How many minutes do we have for this break? 20? 10? 20 minutes. Let's do it. Let's meet in 20 minutes. Thank you very much.
WarsawJS.
And our first lightning talk is gonna be by our friend Artur. Give him a hand, everybody. Give it a try.
A try. Thank you. But there's we know.
there's an echo.
Or that one
How about now?
here.
Oh, that's better. All right, we're back.
I think it's
Okay,
better.
Artur, what's your talk about?
So I'm going to talk about reverse engineering of user interfaces.
Reverse engineering of user
Yes.
interfaces.
But I'd rather, if you don't mind, I will speak in Polish.
That's quite all right. Listen, I'm open to it. I can maybe even understand a little of it. It's just,
know
remember that you
I know
have
that.
precisely 5 minutes, okay, Artur?
Okay, I'll try.
Go for it.
Thank you. Cześć wszystkim. Nazywam się Artur Zochniak i chcę opowiedzieć wam o tym, o czym będę mówił za miesiąc, dlatego że niedawno ustaliłem termin, że mam nadzieję przybędziecie równie tak licznie na za miesiąc. I powiem co nieco o mnie. Zawsze uważałem się za ambitną osobę. W szkole jakoś sobie radziłem. Nauczyłem się programowania. Z miejsca chciałbym pozdrowić moje liceum, które uważam, że jeżeli nie chodziłbym do tego liceum, to być może dzisiaj nie miałbym po co tak naprawdę z wami tutaj się spotkać i do czegoś wam, o czymś wam opowiadać. Ale jednak jest jedna rzecz, chcę się wam do czegoś przyznać. Otóż chcę wam wyznać, że jestem ENTP. Kto wie, co to znaczy? Mamy... Tak jest, okej.
Tak jest.
W każdym razie to ma pewien swój narzut, jest to dość specyficzny typ osobowości, jak na branżę naszą. Uwielbiam programować, ale co to oznacza? To oznacza, że... O, poleciał tutaj, przeskakuje coś i to mi się nie podoba. No, nie podoba mi się.
4 minutes.
I co teraz? Tak, a więc łatwo jest mnie rozproszyć. I tak naprawdę zdarza się, nie wiem komu z was się zdarza, ale mi się bardzo często zdarza, że jeżeli mam dobry vibe w życiu, to 3:00 w nocy robię notatki, no muszę po prostu wstać i zanotować to, jakie mam przemyślenia. Zdarza mi się, że odkładam rzeczy bardzo długo po to, żeby tak naprawdę móc je zrobić w 5 czy 10 minut i tak dalej. Potrafię w trakcie studiów na przykład nie robiłem, wiadomo, zawczasu, tylko do ostatniej chwili. I jeszcze też jedną cechą moją jest to, że uwielbiam dyskusję. Obrazek tylko dla dorosłych. Tak bardzo uwielbiam dyskusję, że czasami wtykam kij w mrowisko. Ale zaleta jest taka, że niezależnie co by się nie działo, tak jak inni ludzie, jeżeli jest fatalnie, jest stresująco, trudno jest im, to ja i też osoby podobne, o podobnym typie osobowości do mnie nie przejmują się tym. Jest wszystko spoko. Jeżeli się pali, to znaczy, że musimy tylko znaleźć wodę. Tak, więc największą frajdę sprawiają mi rzeczy nieprzeciętnie dobre i najprościej jest mi skupić się na wykonywaniu tylko pierwszych 80% projektów. No a w oprogramowaniu potrzebujemy kończyć wszystko, inaczej to albo działa w pełni, albo nie działa w ogóle. Powiem wam, że nawet mam domenę entp.pl i co z nią zrobiłem? Do tej pory nic. Jak wejdziecie, to tam jest wskazanie na nasze dzisiejsze spotkanie.
2 minutes.
W każdym razie moim ulubionym filmem jest 12 gniewnych ludzi. Bardzo polecam ten film. W każdym razie wierzę w to, że retoryka ma moc. I co bym chciał wam powiedzieć, to, że jeżeli tak trudno mi dokończyć te 20%, to w jaki sposób mogę to obejść? No i znalazłem to sposób taki, że jeżeli to jest moja praca, którą muszę wykonać, żółte to jest cały projekt, to zielone to jest pierwsze 80%, które mi po prostu niezależnie jakby to było trudne, to mi to bardzo łatwo przychodzi, a ostatnie czerwona sekcja to jest jakby ja po prostu już szukam czegoś nowego, już szukam czegoś, co mnie zaspokoi. I słuchajcie, mój sposób na to, no nie da się. Mój sposób na to, nieźle, ale jakby coś tutaj jest nie tak.
1 minute.
Więc ludzie tworzą narzędzia i o tym właśnie chcę wam opowiedzieć. I wyobraźcie sobie idealne narzędzie dla kogoś takiego jak ja, taki święty graal dla ENTP, dla programisty, które pozwala stworzyć wszystko w czasie, w którym w mgnieniu oka. Tylko jest jeden problem, no to dużo pracy, ale właśnie no jakby kto jeżeli nie ja. Pomysł jest taki, żeby rozszerzyć zakres prac. Więc jeżeli to jest to, co jest przyjemne i ciężkie, ta dłuższa część, to po prostu poszerzmy zakres prac i połączmy, żeby etap pierwszych prac był po prostu początkiem, żeby dotyczył wchodził w te pierwsze przyjemne 80%. To niebieskie już później nie musi być wykonane, ale liczy się to, że ja mentalnie jestem w stanie iść dalej. I tutaj zrobię nawet ładną animację, że po prostu dzięki takiemu zabiegowi to się staje bardzo proste. I przedstawiam wam narzędzie do wizualnej inżynierii wstecznej, gdzie podajemy screenshot, a dostajemy kod źródłowy projektu. To tyle i o tym za miesiąc wam opowiem. Dziękuję.
Ale no, to był jakiś punkt na pewno. Coś tam było wyraźnie i zrozumiałem część, powiedzmy. Powiedz, co chciałeś powiedzieć na końcu, taki dobry odpowiedź właśnie o tym, co chciałem powiedzieć w jednym słowie, w jednym frazie. Co chciałeś powiedzieć? Ogólnie to znaczy, że la. Jaki jest punkt w tym?
Wierzę w to, że można. Ostatni raz, kiedy tutaj byłem, mówiłem, że wierzę w to, że można usprawnić wytwarzanie oprogramowania.
Aha.
You understand?
No, na razie tak.
I kieruję sprawy dalej. Chcę pokazać, że można in no time stworzyć aplikację twoich marzeń.
O to chodzi. Oh, in no time you can create the application of your dreams. That's the point.
Exactly.
Thank you, sir. I don't believe you, but I believe it's true. You'll show us how to do it. Everybody give him one more hand, please. You have any questions? Any question? Quickly, let's do it.
Okay, one thing I didn't understand is the relation between ENTP and reverse engineering.
Oh, wow. Do we have time? Okay.
Oh, I wish, I could finish my talk. So, but it's my, next time I will be, yes. So the relation.
You can explain it during your next, hold on. This is a good reason to come back. I just have to say, this is a very good reason to come back for number 92, because I'm sure you'll be able to explain it much more clearly. Is that right?
Exactly. Generally, you just need to make it quick so it doesn't hurt.
In a painless way, yes? Yeah. Painless application. I like the sound of that. Arthur, thank you very much. We got to move on to the next guy. And yes, you win the prize, of course. You have a bonus. You have a prize for that. Thank you very much, Arthur. I'll be here for that talk for sure. You can count on that. I'm coming. I'll be here. Are we ready? Okay, this next guy, okay, he's brave. Okay, he's braver than 90% of you because why? Because he's standing up here and he's going to give a lightning talk in front of this audience. And I want you guys to understand something. You are not the easiest audience in Warsaw, okay? This is not an easy crowd. So, as nervous as he is, we want to make him feel comfortable and really pay attention to what he's saying and give a great, warm welcome to Pavel, everybody. You can start talking without the slides. They'll be ready.
All right, so hello everyone. Actually, I haven't planned to give any speech tonight, so it may be a bit messy, and I hope that Piotr can help me. So,
got slides? Ready?
Yeah.
5 minutes.
Yeah. So today I would like to. Okay.
No, he hasn't started yet. Let's be fair. No, go. I told you the guy was nervous, okay? So oh, man.
It's time to buy another laptop.
Anyway, at least locally we can see.
Ready?
Can you just open that presentation and so that?
Yes, sir, that's everybody. Pavel.
So hi everyone once again. Today I would like to speak why Web3 is a scam, or maybe it's not. So I realize that very often we tend to, how to say, exaggerate and just overreact during different, let's say, situations. So we tend not to think rationally, but just driven by our emotions. And sometimes we think that some things are just bad or just good, without just making our research and trying to look at different things from, let's say, different perspectives. And I would like today to talk about Web3 in particular. Few words about me. I'm a software engineer at MicroStrategy, and I also built several Web3 projects at Ethereum Global Organization hackathons, which event 2 won. So tonight I would like to speak why I think that most of the Web3 things are just a scam. So first of all, when we say about Web 1, Web 2 and Web 3, just very shortly, I can just tell you that in Web 1 and Web 2, in Web 1 we were just able to, let's say, read the information. In Web 2, somewhere in the beginning of 2000, we gained this, let's say, interactivity between the users. For example, we had social media applications where we could just interact, not just read, but also send some information. But the thing was that, as you can see here, the information was shared on some kind of centralized servers. But thanks to this, we could use all of those services for free. And some people think that there are some privacy concerns, that some of the big companies are holding our data, and they want to move to more decentralized, let's say, solutions where the data is just sent peer-to-peer to other users. And then everything is transparent, so where's the privacy? This is the first question. And second thing is that if big organizations are not going to pay for that, who will pay? So we as a users will have to pay that. That's why every operation on a blockchain is very expensive. That's why we pay the gas fees. Another thing is the structure. This is very simple representation how the Web3 application may look like. Because I don't have time, if you have a question, we can speak about it after the presentation. And people are thinking that Web3 is some kind of revolution or something like that. And have you ever heard about torrents, for example? I will just show you something like that. Look at these two cars. Do you know what's there is one difference between those two cars. This one is electric, but this one is also electric. But this one is over 100 years old, and that's all. So the same, like people are saying, electric cars are super revolutionary, etc., etc. Well, they are not. Actually, this is the technology that was known before, and I think this is exactly the same thing for Web3. And I will just show you how the tokens look like. So people tend to spend a lot of money on cryptocurrencies. Can you, Piotr, just help me make it bigger? Piotr, where's Piotr? Okay. Okay. Anyone who can just help me enlarge it somehow? Can you just make it bigger, because I just wanted to show the code. So here I will just show you the code, how the, let's say, example cryptocurrency can look like. This is my code. Can we just make it somehow bigger? Okay. All right, so this is the code. As you can see, it's written in Solidity. This is just barely 10 lines of code. Everyone can do that. You can just mint your own tokens. And think it's like, imagine that government is printing money without correlation to anything. So like basically the same thing. So everyone can just, let's say, print your own money, and then you can just scam people to buy that. So this is how the example cryptocurrency look like. Well, that's all. Sorry for this chaotic presentation. I really wanted to explain everything just 5 minutes, but if you have some extra questions,
You have one more minute. So
Can-
can you use cryptocurrency is a scam? Is that what you're saying?
I think mostly yes. Even though I still believe in this technology, but from the, let's say, different perspective. But I think in most of the cases it's a scam, it is useless, and it is very bad solution. However, like I said, I am at the same time a huge enthusiast, and I built dozens of projects in this technology. So if you have any questions, I hope that we can have quite, let's say, interesting discussion after that. Okay, thank you. There are some questions I can see.
This guy, give him a really big hand because he was so nervous about being in front of you people. You have a question? Oh, okay. I got to go serve the people, give the people what they want. Here we go. Yes, ma'am. Oh, one moment.
Okay, so I think that's the difference between cryptocurrency and the blockchain that you are talking about. So the blockchain technology, yeah, it's very good, and it's not only in crypto, yeah.
Right.
So it's the big difference, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So it wasn't a question, but I just mentioned that it's the difference between crypto and blockchain.
Okay.
Okay, this was a point of information. It was not a question. Ladies and gentlemen, we're looking for questions. I liked your point. I liked your point. Ladies and gentlemen, we really need questions. You have a question, sir?
Thanks for the talk. So you said most of the Web3 projects are scam, but could you name a single project that is not that's have practical, useful, meaningless something in Web3?
Meaningful, right?
Yeah. Do you know any meaningful
Yeah.
project in Web3?
I will
would
just
like to
promote
try it.
myself.
Good question.
For example,
we didn't tell you. No promotions, no self-promotions. Go for it.
Last weekend, I tried to find some kind of, let's say, meaningful solutions. So with my team, we built a charity organization where, for example, some people are questioning, they don't want to, let's say, support some organization because they're not sure where is the money going to, let's say. So this is one of the advantages of blockchain, where all of the transactions are transparent. And actually, we built a project of the working application, decentralized application indeed, where you can just support various, let's say, charity projects, and everything is fully transparent. Plus, we also use the structure of the decentralized autonomous organization. So the money is sent only to those projects that were upvoted by more than 50% of the supporters.
Thank you, sir, very much. Give him a hand once more. Of course, you win the prize, and we're looking forward to maybe hearing the full talk. You know, we like to hear you lay these ideas out one after the other. I personally believe also, as that young lady does, that blockchain is really something that is going to be very useful to us all in the future in terms of reining in this kind of lack of accountability amongst certain people. I think it might be very useful, and I agree with that. I don't know whether Web3 is a scam or not. However, it was a very nice presentation, and we thank you very much. One more time. Before we come back, everybody, before we go and have that pizza, I'll take that, sure, no problem. That was really good. Didn't have to ring the bell or anything. Does anyone else have anything, or would anyone else like to try to present the lightning talk? Lightning talk going once. Lightning talk going twice. Lightning talks are over. Before we leave, I need to be able to thank once more the organizers of this number 91. Our next meeting will be number 92. That means we're closer to 100, as I am. Closer. It's not that funny. We're closer to 100, and I'm really excited. Don't forget that we also have our workshops coming up, okay? And those workshops are taking place on the 24th of this month. And you can still buy tickets for the workshops. Oh, here we go. You can still buy tickets for the workshops. In fact, thank you, Louisa. Let me see where those tickets are for the workshops. Oh, yes. No, this is the meetup. This is the front-end conference. Tra-la-la. That's it? Oh. No, we've been there. I'm going left. There's the meetup trend. Oh, there we go. All right. Here we go. Here are the workshops on the 24th of April. And they're going to be from 10 o'clock in the morning until 15 in the afternoon. And here will be your instructors, trainers. Will be Jacek Rojek. Where is he? Over there in the corner. And Bartek Legion. Legiąć? Naprawdę legiąć? Wow. Bartek Legiąć, okay, and Daniel Silvek. Shivak. No, of course it's Shivak, CTO of Humera Prime. So those will be your instructors, your trainers, and you will be able to still buy tickets at this address that you see at the meetup.com, WarsawJS /. So we hope you'll all buy tickets and we hope you'll all be there. Once again, we want to thank our sponsors who are, this time, CK Source, CallStack, Daft Code, Fresha, Pack Help, PostClick, Prisma, Sumo Logic, TDO, and Xbang. By the way, I just want to mention very quickly that, yes, I have a podcast, and this podcast is called Radio IT. You can look us up online, and please come and tell us whether you like it or not. This is the place where music and creativity and IT come together. So we have music for programmers. If you like to listen to music while you're working, please check us out. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your attendance, and we'll see you next time. That's it. Enjoy the pizza. Let's all go and talk and network outside. Thanks again. One more time. Conf.js 2022.